Hey everyone, this is Waqas. Welcome back. Today I'm going to present you a real-world debugging story. How a perfectly running NestJS NextJS site stopped responding. Even though server was accessible, there was no logs on the servers. There was no DB connectivity issue. Let's deep dive into this. So suddenly a team member from my company reach out to me and start asking like, we are facing some issue. Our site is not responsive. This is a random issue. We need to restart in order to become that site again responsive. There is a deployment schedule for the evening, and we need to make this fix. We don't want to push buggy deployment on the production. Otherwise, our production will be unresponsive as well. So we don't want to take this risk, and that's an obvious thing. The only thing that I know, like they were building some medical record system on top of some one stack, which is PostgreSQL and NestJS and NextJS. Okay. Then I asked what is going on. He said there are some pages that are randomly hanging. Once they hang, we have to restart the server, and then only they are able to reach out those pages. Okay, so then I said, okay, then do you have a health endpoint? They said yes. I said, is there any connectivity issues? They said no, database is reachable even directly or even from the server as well. Then my initial hypothesis was there was some maybe database table that are getting logged due to some transactions. He said no, we are able to access any table from when we connect from any dev machine to that database. So there is no table locking happen. Okay. Then the real struggle happens. I said, okay, let's try see some pattern. He said, uh, I start asking few more questions like which endpoints are getting failed. We try to debug few things and find out like there is a pattern around it, which is the endpoints which are consuming some databases are becoming unresponsive. Otherwise, every other endpoint is working fine. Then I asked like, okay, are you using some connection pooling? They said yes. The connection pooling size was 20. I said, okay, I think your connection server is able to consume all the connections, all 20 connections, and that's why next connection is not available, and server is waiting for the connection to be free so that it can start connecting the DB using that connection. They said we are few developers who are only consuming this staging DB. Then how this 20 connection pool size can become full? I said okay, there might be some thing happening in the code which are not releasing your connection. So they are very surprised. They said we are properly doing session handling. There is no issue with this. Okay, then I said okay. They said also there was some understanding of issue with respect to connection pooling. They don't have an idea like how connection pooling actually works. You know why? They said okay, our dev are able to connect with the DB using the connection pool, but then why server is not able to connect? So I said this is the issue. You don't have an idea. The connection pool is related to your server or even wherever your code is running. It's independent of it's not a global connection pool. It's with respect to your server. And explain then this way, hopefully you are also getting my point. If I am running that code base with 20 connection pool size on my machine, then the 20 size would be for my machine. If you are running same code base in your with even the same DB on your machine, then 20 size would be your machine. You can also set different size, like for example 50 as well. So there your connection pool size would become 50. So they said okay, let's prove that, and that's the issue. Okay, I said okay, let's bring some query to find out if there are any how many open connections are there in the DB. I find we grabbed that query from the GPT and run that query on the database, and we exactly found out like there are 20 connections that are sitting idle. Why? those are logged by transaction. There were 20 transactions were opened and they never close. Okay, so their eyes, uh, you you can imagine how they start behaving. Okay, so there was an issue with their code base. There was a buggy code. There was a track where one of their APIs was getting failing, and they were starting the transaction, but that transaction was never getting aborted or committed. So that's why a transaction is open, so your connection will remain open. You cannot close that connection without aborting the transaction or maybe committing the transaction. So I said, okay, let's move further. I release all the transaction and connections from the DB and ask them to try your site now, and the whole site become responsive again without restarting the server. So yeah, that was the temporary fix. I said, okay, now you can go to your code base and find out where the issue is. There should be some negative path. Check all your crash path if you are opening a transaction, not closing there. And they were able to, find out that quickly. Yes, there was an API for which there is a path where buggy code was not closing the transaction. Here you see, this is just an example. This abort transaction was missing from there. If you are not aborting a transaction, then obviously there is an issue with your code base. It never releases the connection. So you need to do this. So yeah, so there are some best practices we need to follow. We need to always end our session and end our transactions. We need to monitor our active session. There should be set pool limit size. Otherwise, you can imagine all your whole DB can become unresponsive. There should be separate staging at dev DBs, and there can be there should like test crash cleanup path as well. Always test crash cleanup path as well. If you're not testing your negative path, then this could happen in the production as well. Eventually it was good they found out that issue in the staging environment before going to live. Yeah. So yeah, what is the takeaway? Takeaway is simple. We need to make our connection pooling should not be like infinite connections, and one missing finally can freeze your site. So defensive coding is the way to keep your production alive. Yeah. So hope you find out this session handy. In order to watch more these real-time debugging stories by Waqas, start subscribing my channel. I will be keep sharing such stories so that you keep aware how to debug and fix things in production quickly. Thank you for watching.